What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I got a good buddy of mine's 2017 Chevy 1500 in the shop. Gonna put a 6-inch lift kit on it. So fortunately he got this kit used, so we're gonna try to do our best to put it all together. Went on the Rough Country website and all the parts are here. I got a good old bag of bolts, so that'll be fun. So we're gonna put it on up there and we'll see what we got. I'm bringing along for the ride. What's up, guys? Today's video is brought to you by Southern Extreme Details. If you're in the Charleston, South Carolina or surrounding areas and you need anything from gutter installs to auto cleaning, call my good buddy James and his crew down there at Southern Extreme Details and they'll hook you up good. I'll add their contact info in the description. And now let's move back on to the truck. All right, so this is the lift kit we got. It's a full kit. It's got everything. The front axle actually drops and sits on these two cradles, which is also where the lower control arms bolt to. We got lifts for the strut, new skid plate, all sorts of miscellaneous brackets and stuff. Lift spindles for the front, the back. We got some blocks, new shocks, and some new U-bolts back there. So for the front, everything's got to go basically but the upper control arm. The upper control arm stays in the factory location, and this spindle is just taller to meet the upper control arm where it's supposed to be. Take everything off, swap the bearing over, hub, all that stuff, and then drop the front axle. That'll be fun. So we're gonna get started. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys a common problem when trying to take these spindles off. It can be frustrating because older a car gets, rustier it gets, the more things tend to not want to come apart. So what happens, taking the lower ball joint off, the spindle actually pops loose from the ball joint and the whole thing is now able to spin. So the whole ball joint is spinning when you're trying to take the nut off. So at least they were somewhat smart about it. And they put at the end of this nut is actually an Allen key. So you can put a Allen head socket in there. Well, and you gotta put a wrench on the nut. So you can hold the Allen head still while you turn the nut. Now, it's a pain in the butt because these are a little rusty and kind of stuck together, but that's what I'm gonna have to do. Take a little extra time, but it'll come off, hopefully, as long as that Allen head doesn't strip out, which has happened before, and then you got nothing else to do but cut the ball joint and pound a new one in. So these ball joints are still good, so I'm gonna do my best to save them without having to replace them. So we'll get back to it. All right, so I finally got the lower ball joint off, got the spindle and everything off, lower control arm off, and now next thing we gotta do is we're gonna drop in that diff. Differential's gotta come out, the rack and pinion's gotta come out, and then we actually gotta do some cutting on these frame members before we can install the new ones. So we'll start working on that and I'll show you what we're doing. All right, guys, so apologize for the bad footage here. It's kind of tight under here. First step we're going to do on working on this differential here is we got to drop the steering rack and pinion out of the way. Just got to disconnect the steer nut up here from the steering wheel, and it's just 3 bolts and a couple of connectors, and this should drop out of the way. Once that's done, we'll take this cross member out. I got to pull the drive shaft out, and then a couple electrical connections on this and a few mount bolts, and she's out. All right, let's get started. I'm just gonna take off the last mount bolt. And one more zip tie holding it to the thing. And we should be able to drop this thing. The next step, drop this cross member, and then pop the drive shaft off the yoke here. A couple of electrical connectors up top, and it's just 2 bolts here, 2 bolts up here. This thing should drop. So we'll start pulling that now. Just gonna slide out from underneath the truck. And I gotta cut a tab off the actual axle itself, and then cut these braces shorter because the new mount's gonna hook into here and drop down for the lower control arms. And once we do that, we can go to the axle back in, put the new mounts in, and start reassembly on the front. Okay. Let's go. All right, so according to the instructions, I want you to cut this horn off 3 3/8 inches back. So let's go ahead and mark that. Alrighty, now that I've got everything cut, it's time to officially start reassembly. First thing we're going to do is it wants me to put the bracket pinion back in. So we're going to throw that back in, and then we'll move on to brackets for the axle and pop the axle back in. Now the brackets are installed, go ahead and reinstall on the front axle. doesn't look like I cut enough of this bracket off to clear this rack and pinion, so I'm going to trim this up a little bit more to make sure we got some clearance. So, now the front axle's back in on the lift extensions. Next thing we're going to do, put in these two cross members. Once we get those in, I got to bolt, you know, the axle bolts to this. Once we get that in, we're going to start putting all the front spindle back together. The control arms and everything, put the lifts on the coils and put the spindles in. I got to press in some ball joints into the lowers. And the fronts should be wrapped up here pretty quick. So let's get these control arms in. All right, now that I got the two drop brackets on, the next thing we're gonna do, put a lower control arm in. Once I get that done, I gotta put the spacer on top of the coil. I take the, this thing had a leveling kit on it, so I gotta take that off, put the spacer on it, put the coil in, then we can throw the spindle on, and dang, you're done. Alright, so I got the knuckle back on, well, loosely bolted in there, with new wheel bearing bolted on. He wanted to put new bearings on it. Got this tightened down for the CV joint. Basically all that's left to do, tighten up the ball joint nuts, top and bottom, put the tie rod back on. I got to put the bolts in and hold the coil to the control arm. I did have to drill a new hole for the sway bar link. That was in the instructions. Then put the brakes back on, and there is a small extension bracket I have somewhere around here. It basically just relocates this from here to about down here. It kicks out for that. And that'll be it. And the front will be all done, and then all I have left to do is put the blocks in the rear. So we'll go ahead and finish this up real quick. All right, guys, on the back of the truck here, first thing they want us doing is dropping this for the e-brake cables. We've got a bracket to extend that, and then a bracket, if you can see up here, this bolt holds on the bracket for the regular brake cables. We're going to drop those. And then it's just simple as taking the shocks off and taking the U-bolts out and putting the blocks in it. We're going to go ahead and rip those apart. Alright, so I got all the U-bolts pulled out and the shocks pulled out. So we're going to slowly lower the axle a little bit. See if we can't wiggle out these old blocks and put in the bigger ones. Now these axles like to tilt forward because it's still connected to the drive shaft and the yoke's heavy and the pinion and all that jazz. So it's a good idea to stick another one on the front to keep it, try to keep it level because it can roll off the jack. Ask me how I know. So I got the block out. One of the things to look for in lift blocks, you notice one side is short and the other is tapered. That way it'll kick the axle back up so the drive shaft angle isn't awful. So always make sure put it in the right way. And go ahead and loosely throw the U-bolts in just to keep it from walking off. Alrighty. Just gonna drop the other side in and bolt it up. Throw the shocks and we'll be done. Oh, I gotta put the bracket on the brake line drop, but we're about done. guys, this is it. She's all done. Right now, I think it's sitting on something that comes out to about a 32-inch tire. Boy's got 26-inch rims on it. He's going to 35s. Get some pictures of when he gets the tires on, and that's about a wrap for this.